2-0.
2-0.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to have to play better than they did in Game 2. Great play from Mineski, but Vici Gaming overextending a bit, getting picked off quite a lot. And
I mean, maybe they were just so confident at that stage in the game. They're just like, whatever. We have heart, we have ages, we have everything.
Just throw bodies at the racks. You'll take it eventually.
If we lose, whatever. I mean, if we lose the fight, don't worry. We got Refresher RP. I mean, Refresher RP is ridiculous. He didn't even hit that good RPs, and he got it stolen like 4 times. But it doesn't even matter.
It was a hard game to be a Magnus, to be fair. With that level of puck play, Rubik on the enemy team, always going to make life tough.
What a player.
Seriously.
What a player.
We have the daily recap videos. I know W200Me, who's been doing those highlights for us, is just salivating right now at the prospect. So much good material.
No surprise here. I think 4 Chinese teams are like the top contenders in this TI3 East.
Top contenders. We'll definitely have a 3rd Chinese team moving out of this phase now with 2 Chinese teams in your winner bracket finals for Group B. So we're guaranteed at least 3. We're not guaranteed 4 yet, but they do look to be the 2 stronger teams, sort of what we expected. But the beauty of double elimination is you can drop down. You're not out of it yet. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our final best of 3 of the evening. It's going to be Rising Stars versus Vici Gaming. That best of 3 decides first place in Group B. Coming up right after this.
Hi! Welcome to Road to the International 3. Ang papag-usapan natin ngayon ay yung East Qualifier at kasama natin si Bimbo galing sa Mineski. Hi! Kamusta naman dyan?
Hello. Okay naman kami dito.
Okay, so unang-unang gusto namin malaman ay more about yung team mo at ikaw. Pwede bang i-describe yung mga teammates mo tapos ikaw na isang Dota hero tapos kung bakit siya yung Dota hero na yun?
Ako sa tingin ko, yung hero na bagay sa akin is si Clockwork. Para ma-guide ko yung mga kampi ko in-game kung ano yung tamang gagawin. Saka parang wala masyado siyang gagawin sa laro. Dapat lang sa hero na yun. Alam mo kung sino kailangan mong patayin sa clash, sino guguluhin mo. Si Gio naman, hero na sa tingin ko babagay sa kanya. Sa pagkatao niya, si Lina. Kasi mahilig siya pumatay, mang-KS. Saka ano talaga, nasa micro niya na rin yung gusto marami na talamaan ng mga skill niya. Saka maraming skill, mas makapatay. Nandun yung hilig niyang may kill siya na puro KS, ganun. Si Yani naman, bigyan mo siya ng nonsense hero na creeps lang yung kalaban, like imagine na Alke, yung walang gagawin, as in, mag-farm lang. Jobe naman, basta tingin ko, kasi sobrang hilig niyang pumatay, kahit na alam niyo mamamatay siya, susugol siya, para, ano na rin, marami siyang pangkakas. Hindi siya agad-agad mamamatay. Si Owa naman, yung paborito niyang hero, si Magnus. Kasing taba niya.
Gusto mo
Saka, yung pagiging skill-wise mo sa hero. Kaya yun yung napili ko sa akin. skill o yung katotoong buhay, skill o sa mga hirong ginagamit niya. Hindi mo pwedeng bigay sa kanya yung mga hero na walang kwenta, na hindi ginagamitan ng utak.
Okay. So, pag-usapan naman natin yung reactions mo tungkol sa TI3 news. Yung unang-una ay kinakabahan ba kayo na baka hindi kayo ma-invite dun sa qualifier?
Hindi naman, kasi feeling ko rin, hindi pa rin talaga ready yung team na to.
Nung narinig nyo yung news na yung Neo International tinanggal, like, na umalis na si Ninja Boogie, ano yung naiisip nyo nung time na yun? Sinong team inisip nyo na ipapalit nila?
Sa tingin ko, China, something like For Love, China teams talaga eh.
Na-challenge ng Nitolic SG yung Dreams. Pag kayo yung Dreams, tapos ilang araw lang kayo meron para mag-practice, itatanggapin nyo ba yung challenge nila or magfo-focus lang kayo sa training?
Sa tingin ko, hindi na, tama lang yung ginawa ng teams eh. Kahit ako yung nasa lagay nila, hindi ko tatanggapin yung challenge. Tama na yung ginawa nila na paghintayin after ng qualifiers, kung di man sila ma-qualified o mag-qualify sila, saka nila labanan. Kasi wala na silang oras para gumawa ng mga kalokohan, hindi mag-training, hindi makipag-scrimmage siya kung sino mga malalakas na team. Kung gagawin pa nila yun, edi parang na-spoil pa nila yung mood nila kung sakali natalo sila. Yung mga hero na tinatago nila, na plano nilang gamitin, magamit pa nila doon kasi ayaw nila mapahiya sa mga fans nila. Yun.
So, ngayon naman, pag-usapan natin yung training ninyo ng Mineski.
The venomous one.
Windrunner at your service. Time for target practice. If at first you don't succeed, stand closer, shoot again. Ah! Right on target.
My spirit may be locked in ice, but my rage still burns.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final set of the evening. It's going to be Vici Gaming versus Rising Stars, a best of 3. We're going to have at least one more Chinese team by the time today is done, advancing into the next phase of the International 3 Eastern Qualifiers. Purge, having watched both games, your thoughts? Do you feel one team has an advantage? Anything in particular that you expect to see in the series?
The games all kind of look a lot different than some of the teams on from Group A from the last couple days before this. I just really feel like it's been a lot of sloppy play. I mean, we've seen a lot of amazing things, but there's been sloppiness to go with it. And compared to what we saw out of teams like LGD, China, I feel like, I don't know, I've seen so many weird games that I feel like I can't really call it that well. I feel like it's probably going to be something like a 2-1, but I don't know. Seems all over the place.
We've seen some fantastic individual play, but it feels like sort of the strategic execution on a larger scale has been inconsistent at best from both teams. And I mean, that sets up what could be a very interesting series. I wouldn't say, on paper and based on past results, I would give Vici Gaming a significant edge in this series, but Rising Stars has shown that they have the potential to take down the top teams in the past. They've taken down Orange before. Orange, obviously, a very strong Asian contender. So with all that being said, guys, let's break down the match a little bit further. Let's introduce our 2 winner bracket finalists. We're going to start it off with Rising Stars on the left side, looking pretty spiffy and actually getting some sunlight, but they can't compete with the Backstreet Boys. Come on now. Vici Gaming looking oh so suave. There's actually no ZSMJ in this picture, unfortunately, because we couldn't find him because he joined the team a little bit later on. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to introduce, first and foremost, Rising Stars. Xiao Tuji. We saw him play the Alchemist time and time again. Will he go to it in this series? Should be interesting to see. They've mostly been playing it as actually a 1 position. So, that being said, we'll move right along to Air. Of course, he's that solo mid, as Gods mentioned earlier today. They do sometimes run that Weaver as a solo mid. Normally plays these kind of snowball-y, mobile-type semi-carries. Sort of reminds you a bit of Mushi in terms of his hero pool. Moving forward, we have the 3-position player, Mofi. Known for the off-lane play, occasionally does rotate around a bit, but Clockwork, I think the most notable hero. That hero has really been popular as of late in this qualifier especially. And of course, XDD, the support player known especially, I think, for his Earthshaker. We'll see where Rising Stars go with their lanes. And last but not least, we have the final player for the team. It's Super. I hope we see the solo mid Wisp. It's something they've run out, they've trotted out in the past. We haven't seen it yet today, but it is a pocket strategy for them, not just running CK Wisp, but running a solo mid Wisp. With that being said, the big thing this team lacks is experience. Only 5 in that department. The Hexagon, not too kind to them there. It looks well-rounded and then a little stunted at the top.
The rest of their numbers look fantastic, though. I mean, look how much surface area. Let's do some math quick. Are you good at calculus? These are flat edges. I'm just kidding.
Do we need calculus for this? I was going to say, I don't think so.
Just do an average.
Well, that's what we have you here for, Kevin. Yep. Of course, for Vici Gaming, you have ZSMJ, the new carry player, recently, and over the past, I think, 2 months or so, replaced SYDM, moved up from Vici Gaming 2. He is a legend for his carry play, but hasn't quite been as polished as what he used to be. Let's see if he can really step it up in this series. CTY, some sensational Queen of Pain at play at first. Wasn't quite up to snuff with what we've seen from him in the past. He still played well. I feel he'll have to be a little more dominant if Vici Gaming want to have a comfortable victory in this series. And then, of course, the 3rd player for this team, it's XTT, that offlaner, and a versatile offlaner. I think probably one of the most patient players in Chinese Dota, especially for such a young group of players. They're experienced, but playing as a team, a little bit newer. FY, that support player, it's all about Rubik. Really should be 3 Rubiks here. That's how well he plays the hero. It's like he has 3 to control. Last but not least, Fenrir, he's the 5-position support. So to round things out for Vici Gaming, we'll take a look at the hexagons. That's not a hexagon. That's the hexagon.
I think the last team may have had a slightly more surface area, so once again, I just really don't know which way to call it.
I feel like the experience comes into play here. You know, it's a crucial match for both teams, and this is where CTY is a bit younger as a player, but he's shown that doesn't faze him too much. And then you look at the rest of the team, and they have some experienced players. They've played well. They've taken down LGD in the Dota 2 Super League. Vici Gaming is here to stay, and I think they will be the favorites going into the series. So we've introduced the teams. We've talked about the hexagons. Of course, I'm LD. He's Purge, but we're not alone. We do have 2 casters for you guys, and it's going to be Gods, his first turn at the mic, joined by Merlini. Guys, what do you think about the matchup?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see Vici Gaming in action as well, taking on another Chinese team. The first match of the entire qualifier so far between 2 Chinese teams. So we've kind of avoided all the Chinese matches so far.
I mean, they did have a 6 for an execution, and I actually think that's actually going to be a pretty big part. We saw them try to break the base of the T3, but it just took them way longer than expected. They have like a 15 to 20,000 gold advantage with Aegis and just incredible advantage, but just pushing out at T3, they already had a Rex down too, and I think that sort of experience may come into play, especially in a crucial game like this.
Yeah. As for Rising Stars, I feel they're a team who, I mean, it's a lack of experience. It's also sometimes the way they draft and use heroes. I mean, we talk about how they like to use the Wisp, but sometimes they use it somewhat inefficiently. Some of their other picks, they do the Weaver solo mid. It's very hit or miss, and I feel the draft is going to be the key point for them. It's where they could just lose the game flat out. I feel Vici's gaming's drafting is so solid.
Right. I also think they didn't really use Wisp as effectively as they could have. We didn't see any sweet relocate TP outs, no miracle plays, but regardless, Wisp starting to make an impact in the Eastern scene.
Yep, absolutely. As far as this match goes, I mean, do you give either team an edge? LD and Kevin were mentioning that, well, Kevin saying he couldn't even really choose. He just thought it'd go 2-1. Do you think either team has much of an edge?
I mean, I would just say Vici 2-0. They're just a little bit stronger and more well-rounded, even though they did lack a little bit in the mid-late game. Their early game is just so strong, and if they can just get off to that sort of lead, I really don't see them coming back from that.
Yeah, to me, if CTY does well in the mid lane, when does he not do well in the mid lane? Vici Gaming can control the flow of the game. ZSMJ, he has got some fantastic decision making. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's not really quite at that same star status yet as a carry player, but he plays, and he plays damn well. He's so consistent, so reliable in that carry role. So I feel like Vici Gaming have the more well-rounded package, the more reliable drafting, and just a stronger play in each of the roles. Some strong support play. It's going to be up to Rising Stars to come up with something like a gimmicky surprise strategy if they want to beat Vici Gaming, in my mind.
Well, there you have it.
Well, with that being said, guys, it looks like we're about to get underway here. Game 1 of your winner bracket finals for Group B. It's going to be Vici Gaming versus Rising Stars. Coming up in just a sec.
All right, guys, we're now live. I tried to keep a straight face. I try. We're now live with our third and final match of day 3. We're going to have one team advance to the playoffs. This is it. Vici Gaming up against Rising Stars. Whoever wins this match is going to be the third team to join LGD China as well as Rattlesnake in the playoffs. 2 Chinese teams. We're going to have a third, and we're getting things underway here.
Behold the horn of Magnus. I heard that. I was like, huh.
Are you talking about the game or something else?
Both.
Okay. Rising Stars, they're playing over on the Radiant team. They did choose to have that first pick. They've grabbed themselves Magnus. Okay. So, Mag first pick. It gives away Lone Druid as well as Visage. We've seen so much Visage the last day or two.
I know. Vici loves that hero. Aoi loves that hero.
Yeah. Good to see that. Got to get some Rod of Aoi out on that as well.
Rawa.
Welcome guys to game 1 between Rising Stars and Vici Gaming. My first time on the casting desk, so I'm a bit new. You're gonna have to hold my hand,
Noob.
guide me through everything. But As far as the bans are concerned, we had Lifestealer, Batrider, Shadow Demon, Gyrocopter. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. We've actually seen more and more Shadow Demon bans, which is kind of screwing with my compendium.
I know.
I have
How
Shadow
dare
Demon,
they?
Shadow Demon most picked. I think you
I had
did as
most
well?
picks, most deaths, and most First Bloods.
Well, if Shadow Demon's not in the game, we're not getting that.
I know. I think he's still pretty high, though. Chinese teams
Yeah.
just love him way more than Rubik. And I'm actually surprised that they didn't counter the Magnus pick with a Lone Druid and a Rubik. We just seen how effective Rubik can be. And over the whole day, I think Rubik has hit RPs on more heroes than the Magnus is in the games. But regardless, Rising Stars Gaming will take Magnus, Clockwork, and Darkseer. This is a very, very strong 3. And although they did give the Lone Druid, I think this is a very nice core to work with.
Yeah, and I think part of this Clockwork pick is also to deny it from Vici Gaming. Vici Gaming love to give this to CTY in the mid lane. He's destroyed Mags before in the mid lane using this hero. It does force Rising Stars to run an off-lane Clockwork. They can't really put him at mid because Mag's going to be saying, I want that mid lane. Vici Gaming going to be looking for something else to send mid against the Mag in CTY's hands, but he's got a very versatile hero pool, and we're seeing Vici Gaming. Wow, this is aggressive. Leshrac, Visage, it has the makings of an offensive trial lane, especially considering they've got this Lone Druid pick who's one of those great 1v1 heroes for that safe lane.
Indeed, and I mean they have a pretty potential strong push lane. We haven't seen Chen and Enchantress much in this series at all. I'm actually quite surprised. I think those heroes are just insanely overpowered in the right lineup, and I think that we could have seen many 20-25 minute games instead of 40-minute plus games if teams used these heroes more effectively. Regardless, yeah, this is a very aggressive core from Vici, and Leshrac without a Shadow Demon setup is a little bit unusual, but Leshrac's still one of the strongest supports out there.
Yeah, you don't really have the setup. Yeah, I feel like that means Vici Gaming, whatever trialing farmer or carry hero they go for needs to maybe have a setup stun, whether it's something like a Sven. Yeah, Grave Chill's actually not too bad. Otherwise, we're looking at something like a Juggernaut to go in there to provide some additional damage, to give the Soul Assumption damage, combine it in there. Rising Stars, they haven't really got any supports yet. Maybe we're looking at that Darkseer in the 4th position. Something we saw earlier today was the Darkseer Clockwork was an offensive jungle where the Darkseer just got that early gank on the Lone Druid. And I think if Rising Stars expect to safe lane Lone Druid against the Clockwork, they need to do something similar, because Lone Druid will win the lane against a Clockwork unless you have something like a Darkseer going for an early gank.
Agreed. And these bans are pretty smart coming from both teams. Vici opting to ban on Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage just really, really good versus these heroes. Not too much in the way of lockdown. You have Gargoyles and Leshrac, but really Anti-Mage will just crush these two heroes, especially with Empower. If you get a nice RP into Mana Void, that could just spell definite doom for these team fights. On the side of Rising Stars, we see DK. I think they're a little bit scared of the push, is why they wanted to ban DK. DK also has that setup for Leshrac that you were talking about. Very reliable stun, can just man up on Magnus and Darkseer in their face, and that pushing potential is not to be underestimated. We see Rubik as the 4th man. I think that might be a little bit overkill. It looks like Vici Gaming already has our 2 supports. We have seen some unusual pocket strats where Leshrac has taken a solo lane, but for the most part, I think their supports are already pretty well out there.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think we're looking at a Leshrac Visage support. The one thing maybe Rising Stars are considering is a Rubik solo mid, something we saw Danny do a lot back at TI2, because Vici Gaming have been running Shadow Demon in the mid lane. Last game he was solo mid, playing the farming role, and even in the past in the Dota 2 Super League, they ran a farming Shadow Demon in the mid lane. So Vici Gaming aren't afraid to run these sort of classic support heroes as a solo mid or a farmer. Rising Stars decide, hey, let's just ban it out. So one more ban coming out from them, and it's going to be on a Nyx Assassin, so he doesn't get picked up in the first stage here. Really sort of getting, I wouldn't say overlooked, but it's just sort of the teams changing their priorities. They're much more preferring heroes like the Clockwork, the Visage so far in this qualifier. Right,
and yeah, Rubik and Nyx Assassin just taking a little bit of seat on the back road. And Silencer, we haven't really seen today either. Silencer, I mean, we've seen him quite a bit in the Eastern qualifiers, but I think that hero is just really, really strong, especially if you have an RP. If you RP and then global, what can you do? You can't even steal it, you can't counter. That just means like 2 to 3 deaths instantly for your team. But again, I don't know how well it would work in their lineups. Again, he'd have to be some sort of support role, but Rising Stars is pretty flexible with their lanes right now. They can do a Clock Darkseer off that we've seen Rattlesnake do a couple of times. We could see a Clock solo off lane, Darkseer solo off lane, Darkseer mid, Magnus safe lane. Just so many options up for them right now.
Yeah, they really can go anywhere with this. I think it's somewhat similar for Vici Gaming, but it's sort of more they're pressured into running this offensive trialing with the Visage or Leshrac. The only way around that is maybe putting Lone Druid in the mid lane, which teams do every now and then. I don't think